Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to be here in Amsterdam, especially in the sunny day, which I believe it's not so usual. Also, a big thank you for FTTH Council for the invitation to be here. Let me start by saying that Vodafone over the last decades has been a key player in the infrastructure, digital infrastructure. In many parts of the European Union, we've been challenging the dominance of incumbents in fixed and offering consumers more choice through gigabit-capable networks. Besides investing billions of euros in upgrading cable networks, which we've bought across multiple countries in Europe, we also built close to 5 million homes organically in countries like Portugal, which I'll talk to in more detail in a few minutes. We also did these investments through partnerships and co-investments like Fibre in Ireland or XG in Germany. But we are also, at the same time, important anchor tenants for many alternative infrastructure players. So we are essentially in almost all parts of the infrastructure, gigabit infrastructures in Europe. Like, for example, Open Fibre in Italy. Vodafone believes in healthy fixed connectivity markets that support multiple operators to compete. We have a strong pro-investment and pro-competition approach to the industry. So let me tell you a little bit more about the Portuguese story. And I will start here by saying, if you look at currently what you can buy in terms of a fiber product in Portugal, you can buy 10 gigabit symmetrical for 15 euros a month. So that gives you an idea. I'll tell you a bit more about the story now. So many years before the Broadband Cost Reduction Directive of 2014, many passive assets in the country were already regulated, in particular access to ducts and poles, and also symmetrical access. And this aspect of regulation was absolutely fundamental for us to start a significant fiber rollout investment beginning of 2010. So essentially, this all started with a real strong vision in 2009, so 16 years ago, of fiberizing the entire country at the time. So Vodafone Portugal started rolling out fiber in 2010, and at the time there was no real third parties openness to negotiate access. So the only option for Vodafone at the time was to build these infrastructures, these fiber to the home infrastructures. As we built close to 1.5 million homes in fiber, we ended up also approaching other players in the market, and we did a fiber sharing deal with, at the time was Portugal Telecom, today is Altice Asset, and we signed the fiber sharing deal in 2014. 3 years later, as the market continued to evolve, we ended up signing also a fiber sharing deal with the cable operator, which was upgrading to fiber. Currently, it's a company called NOS. And that partnership has since flourished and grew. So we have now a very significant fiber sharing deal agreed with NOS, which covers more than 3/4 of the country in practice, in total. We see that this vibrant competition that kick-started with these key conditions in place, like I mentioned, access to passive infrastructures is one of the ingredients. Also, a very interesting regime in terms of in-home access. Typically, the first operator that gets to a home builds the infrastructure inside the home, so in a vertical fiber in a building, and that is open access to the other operators that comes next. In reality, today in Portugal, we have in many places 4 different fiber networks. When we look at the statistics, currently we have 93.4 homes and establishments covered with fiber to the home in roughly a country with close in excess of 6 million homes. So that's well above the European average. So essentially it's above the 90% threshold that was shared here earlier. Also, another very important ingredient in the Portuguese case is that convergence with mobile offers kicked very early, in 2013. And this was an important factor also on the acceleration of broadband adoption, because suddenly for consumers, not only they had an interesting option of having a better fixed broadband, but they also had a retail proposition that allowed them to get fixed broadband, TV, and mobile with very interesting packages. So convergence competition started, and that drove adoption quite significantly from 2013. So in essence, I would say that there's been 3 key ingredients that evolved Portugal to be currently one of the highest countries in Europe in terms of fiber to the home adoptions. We have more than 2/3 of the households with fiber to the home connected, which means from a penetration point of view, we'll be in the clear top tiers that you've seen earlier. Those 3 ingredients were the right regulatory conditions, like I described earlier, convergence, and a pro-competition environment that existed in the market. Now, let me shift to what I see in other countries in Europe, to particular other member states, where Vodafone operates. In many of them, we lack access to good passive infrastructure access, in particular to ducts and poles. And also, we also heard before, the investment climate has been changing, in particular in the last few years. The European Commission is reconsidering fixed ex-ante access model and is aiming to remove the list of markets where this regulation is warranted. But the reality is that in many markets, in particular in Italy, Germany, and others, 70% of the retail connections are in the incumbent player wholesale infrastructure. In addition, most national regulators still find the need to regulate their fiber markets, and around 90% of them still regulate local broadband markets, and 56% of them regulate the business market separately. So we truly believe that it is premature to eliminate this SMP model and remove some of these countries and markets from that list. This is especially important as we are now continuing to accelerate our transition from copper to fiber, and we believe that this is a break or make point that dictates and will dictate the level of competition in the next decades in these digital infrastructures. Investment competition absolutely needs to be safeguarded during this copper to fiber migration period. We, of course, understand the need to deregulate. It is always good to cut red tape, but removing a regime that really led to competition and development of healthy digital infrastructures might be self-extinguishing. We believe that competition and investment in fiber will go hand in hand. Therefore, we believe that the Commission should instead focusing in improving the climate for overall digital infrastructure, not just in these aspects of fiber. And let me give you just a few examples which we believe that are important to pursue. Removing barriers to the European single market, ensuring that all players in the digital ecosystem, and when I say digital ecosystem, I mean broader players, including over-the-tops, particularly the ones that contribute to generate massive amounts of traffic, often accounting for more than half of the entire traffic that is in our networks, fiber and mobile networks, that contribute to the cost of those networks. Also on this topic, making certain that if there are rules, the rules apply to all operators providing the same services. This still does not exist today. There is discrimination between different types of players, very often offering the same services. And also, not in fiber, but in related aspects, and as I mentioned, I do believe, and Vodafone does believe, that convergence plays an important role on the adoption side, that there is better pro-investment policies, in particular in regarding to spectrum in the mobile side. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to emphasize, similarly to what Mr. Draghi report mentioned on the future of the European competitiveness, if we want to respond to the challenges we have in particularly important moment of our lives, as we all know what's going on in terms of the world, in terms of changes, the right policies have to be put in place that foster our innovation in Europe. And in that, the digital infrastructure plays a crucial role. Keeping them competitive and capable of attracting investment is absolutely fundamental. So, Vodafone will continue to play its role in this connectivity race, and we are happy to be a big part of it. So, thank you very much for the opportunity.